Hello and welcome to today's Infosecurity Magazine webinar. My name is Dan Raywood, I'm the Deputy Editor of Infosecurity Magazine, and I'll be moderating today's event in association with Axiad. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this webinar today as we look at achieving compliance with the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Thankfully, I'll be stumbling over that a lot less because I'm going to call it CMMC from now on, so the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. That's going to be our theme for the day. It's quite a new concept to me as we started talking about this webinar a couple of months ago. It's not something I'm too familiar with, and hopefully over the next next hour we're going to be learning a lot more about it, and you'll be learning more of the things about this this certification, what it is, how to achieve compliance, what you need to achieve compliance, and I suppose actually maintaining compliance. And I guess what the benefits are of it is what we're going to be covering over the next hour. So thanks very much for joining us on this webinar, which I think is going to be an interesting concept. As I say, something which we've not really covered before in Infosecurity, and hopefully you'll find pretty engaging. So for the next hour, we're going to be looking at that. And before I introduce you to the speakers today, just a couple of housekeeping points. We are going to have the opportunity to ask questions during this webinar. So if you have questions on this, we've got some really great speakers today who will be able to take your questions and obviously hopefully to answer them as well. If you're on Twitter, it's hashtag InfosecWebinar, as you can see just at the bottom of your screen there, and at InfosecurityMag. And also, if you're a member of ISC Squared, ISACA or EC Council, you can claim 1 CPE credit for a minimum attendance of 50 minutes, 50 minutes. So do 50 minutes with us and you will collect that credit. We're probably going to run for the full hour. It's 6 o'clock here in the UK, so wherever you are, another hour it will be as long as we run. Once you've done that full period of 50 minutes, then you can download your certificate from your Infosecurity account and submit it. Sometimes they can take about 48 hours to be processed, so do kind of bear with it. It doesn't sort of turn it around immediately sometimes. If this is your first webinar with us, you'll have been prompted to enter your CPE number at registration. If you did not enter your number, would like to collect a credit, then please log out and go back into your account, put your number in, and then come back in about the next 5 minutes or so. And obviously the race is on, because we don't want you to miss out on that CPE credit, because we unfortunately cannot create those retrospectively. Your certificate will show how long you attended for, which is what your accrediting body sort of demands, as it were. So that's the sort of housekeeping over then. So let's move on and introduce the speakers today. So I'm Dan from Infosecurity Magazine. Delighted to be joined by Bassam Al-Khalidi, who is co-CEO of Axiad. Also Ed Bassett, who is a founding member of the Cyber Guild, and Elvis Moreland, who is cyber risk management and compliance expert. So big thanks to Bassam, Ed, and to Elvis for joining us today. And we are going straight into our opening presentation from Bassam from Axiad. So Bassam, I will hand the deck over to you.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Really excited to be part of this with Infosecurity and to share this opportunity with Ed and Elvis to talk about CMMC. As Dan mentioned, very important topic, new topic to a lot of people as it was released early in the year. But hopefully, we'll go through a quick high-level overview. CMMC is a complex overall project, or it's a complex program. I would say is the right terminology here. So we'll try to go through the high-level overview of it. We'll try to have a great discussion with Ed and Elvis to kind of answer any questions you may have. Let's go into a little bit of. There we go. Sorry about that. Now let's talk about what is our outline today for the overview. So we'll do, as I mentioned, very higher level overview of CMC, some of the capability domains, we'll talk about that. Practices, processes, maturity, why is that important? Of course, as Axiad is a leader in MFA and multi-factor authentication, we'll touch on that a little bit. And we'll also talk about some of the difference between yesterday's requirements, today's requirements, and what we think the future requirements may be as well, and how to elevate your own internal solutions to meet CMMC today. So what is CMMC? Why is it important? And why are we talking about it today? So as Dan mentioned, this is a new thing that came out. A lot of you might be familiar with 800-171, with ISO 27100. But really, CMMC was the Department of Defense's way to look down its supply chain and how it can force some certification and to understand what level of cybersecurity program each of these entities that do business with the DoD, all these suppliers and contractors, and understand where they fall in within that cybersecurity hygiene internally within their organization. The main goal is really to protect federal contract information and CUI, so we'll hear a lot about that a lot. And it builds on today what a lot of the current requirements are, whether it's from the Federal Acquisition Regulations Supplements, from the DFARS, or from the FARS, or from the NIST, and especially around 800-171 and 800-171B. So you'll hear a lot of references around those as well. But that's really mainly the goal of it, is to kind of secure the supply chain all the way from the DoD all the way down. One thing, why is the DoD doing it? Why are they forcing this down the chain? We believe it's security is, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And it doesn't matter how much one entity spends. If there's some risk element within your supply chain, that risk element can bubble back up to you. The DoD estimates that the loss due to attacks and threats and hacks is a staggering. It's in billions of dollars. So that's why this is something really critical, really important, and we'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. One thing I wanted to highlight really quickly here on CMMC versus 800-171, for example, is the main difference. In 800-171, you are allowed to kind of do self-assessment and self-certify. With CMMC, and as you can see, they're expanding in all these different domains. And if you look at these domains, they're really across the board. We're talking about access control, incident report, risk management, asset management is a new one, security assessments, media protection, and on and on and on. You can see them. I don't want to just list the 17 different areas, but I think the main core differential between 800-171 and CMMC is that fact, the self-assessment versus now you're required to get an assessment by a third party. I think that's a big item. A number of changes as well in some of the terminologies that you'll see between 800-171 or NIST 853 is the concept such as families in NIST. Now we're talking about domains in CMMC. So you'll hear a lot about domains as well and security domains within this practice. Understanding the levels within CMMC. Now, not only is it something that we have to do, but it's important to understand, depending on your business and depending on what are you providing as part of that supply chain to the DoD, what is required of you, which level do you need to be at. So taking a first glance and looking at all of the levels, if you have to achieve level 5, obviously that is pretty complex. But the first question should be asked is, do we even need to be at level 5? What is the appropriate level that we need to be at? So that's something that we highly recommend having your people contacting the contract officers at the DoD, understanding based on the business that you do today, what is expected from your organization, what level do you think you need to achieve? We'll go into some of the high-level differentials between these levels. But the most important thing is understanding, based on your business, what do you provide to the DoD and the federal government? What level are you required to achieve? I think that's something extremely important, so you know how to focus your time, your effort, your resources in achieving the appropriate level of security that's required. If we look a little bit about these 5 levels and kind of dissect them just really from a high-level perspective, one is basically your cybersecurity hygiene. This is kind of really basic cybersecurity practices. Do you have antivirus installed? Do you have strong passwords? Do you have fairly standard measures in process? This one doesn't require you to do as much as the other domains. This is kind of the basic cornerstone of cybersecurity. Once we go into level 2, and now we're getting into the more complex and more important items to look at, because now you have to protect most likely controlled unclassified information such as CUI, and now we get into you have to look at your access control, awareness and training, identification and authentication starts to roll in level 3, for example, and then we get into the level 3 where we start talking about even more assessments, more around 800.171 R2, for example. There's about 47 security controls that must be in here applied in level 3. If we go to level 4, now we start talking about defending against APTs. There's a lot of similar requirements in the DFARS, but now we're asked to handle more advanced persistent threats in this area. In level 5, there's about 30 extra security controls beyond level 4, and these are more around auditing, management processes, opposed to just technical requirements. So it's more management heavy and more process driven and more audit driven on the top level. But again, it's very important to understand which one are you required to meet. Where do you stand with your current contracts? Kind of looking at them in a little bit additional detail, if we wanted to look at one of the items that we wanted to focus on, especially because of our expertise from the Axiad side, is in level 3, we start talking about multi-factor authentication. We start to talk about encryption. We start to talk about encryption with FIPS 140-2. And this is where, from our organization, that's really where our expertise is and where we can help achieve this mandate. And we've helped a lot of different entities that within the defense and aerospace achieve this level of compliance. But if you already have a good program and you've dealt a lot with NIST 800-171, there's a lot of good building blocks that you've already achieved. Now it comes down to how can you take that to the next level? How can you achieve the higher level of compliance, the audit and reporting requirements that are needed for that level.
To watch the full video, click the link below to our Bright Talk channel. For more Axiad content, click subscribe.